The small town of Redding, Oklahoma, was always known for its peace and quiet. People lived a measured life until one day a traveling circus appeared, setting up its tents on the outskirts. The circus, called Fun for All, attracted children from all around with its colorful posters and promises of unforgettable shows. However, the town's old-timers immediately felt something was off. It was too sudden, and the circus residents seemed strange. Especially one of them, a clown named Grim. Grim stood out not only for his eerie makeup, but also for his behavior. His eyes seemed to glow with a sinister fire, and his laughter, loud yet cold, chilled to the bone. Children, thrilled by his tricks, often spoke of how he whispered strange things to them, such as, "Want to see a real magic trick? Come at night." When the first child, 7-year-old Sally Johnson, went missing, her disappearance was dismissed as a tragic accident. But soon after, 11-year-old Tommy Kane vanished as well. Panic spread through the town, and all clues pointed to the circus. However, when the local sheriff arrived to search the grounds, no one was there. The circus had vanished, as if it had never existed. A week after the circus disappeared, Redding's residents began to notice strange occurrences. At night, distant laughter could be heard from the forest's edge, and children started dreaming about the clown Grim. In their dreams, he offered them candy and promised to show them the most amazing world. One of these children, 9-year-old Billy Harris, told his parents that Grim had invited him to a big tent full of bright lights and toys. When Billy woke up, he found a small red balloon under his pillow, identical to those Grim had handed out during his performances. The townsfolk began to suspect that the clown was still somehow there. One of them, a former hunter named Jack Rivers, decided to investigate. He ventured into the woods with a rifle, but returned 3 days later, utterly exhausted and unable to speak. All he could write on a piece of paper was, "He's here. The whole town is in danger." Despite the growing fears, life in Redding went on. However, children began disappearing more frequently. Two best friends, Amy and Josh, decided to explore the forest where the circus tents were rumored to have been seen. They took flashlights and ventured out late at night, despite their parents' warnings. A few hours later, they were gone. The parents raised the alarm, mobilizing the entire town's police force, but the search yielded nothing. The next day, a strange symbol appeared in the town center, a large red balloon tied to a lamppost with a note, "This is just the beginning." The townsfolk were terrified. Many began fleeing Redding, but the clown always seemed to find a way to remind them of his presence. Those who stayed banded together, trying to protect their children, but the sinister laughter continued to echo through the nights. One teenager, 15-year-old Mike Stevens, became an unwitting witness to a chilling scene. Walking home late one evening, he spotted a strange figure standing under a streetlight. It was Grim. The clown held a small music box and was humming an eerie tune. Mike hid behind a tree and watched. He saw Grim take a bright balloon from his pocket, toss it into the air, and it popped with a loud bang. In an instant, silhouettes of children, the missing ones, appeared around him. They moved like marionettes, unnaturally and slowly. The clown laughed, and they all vanished into a cloud of smoke. The next morning, Mike told the sheriff everything, but he wasn't believed. Still, his story spread, and people began to suspect that the children were under some kind of spell or controlled by Grim. The local history teacher, Mr. Grayson, hearing about the strange events, decided to dig into the town archives. He discovered that the Circus Fund for All had appeared in Redding 50 years ago. At that time, several children also disappeared, and the circus vanished just as suddenly. Among the records, he found an old manuscript mentioning Grimm's name. According to the manuscript, Grimm was a cursed being that appeared every half-century to feed on the fear and life energy of children. The only way to stop him was to destroy the amulet he always carried. Mr. Grayson shared his findings with several residents, including Mike. They decided to join forces and try to find a way to destroy Grimm. However, it seemed the clown already knew of their plans and had prepared a terrifying surprise for them. After Mr. Grayson's discovery, a small group of 5 gathered in town to face the evil threatening them. The group included Mike, Jack Rivers, Mr. Grayson, Mary Johnson, the mother of the missing girl Sally, and Tom Blake, a mechanic known for his ingenuity. They met late at night in an old barn to devise a plan. Mike recounted everything he had witnessed, including the description of the children turned into marionettes. Jack, despite being worn out from his previous experience, claimed he had skills that could help locate Grimm's amulet. Mr. Grayson presented the manuscript he had found, which described a place where the clown might hide his artifacts, a deep cave in the woods, shrouded in legend. Mary, driven by the loss of her daughter, insisted on taking an active role. Her grief had turned into fury, and she vowed to do everything possible to bring the children back. Tom proposed creating traps to give them a fighting chance against Grimm should they encounter him. As they dispersed, each of them felt a sense of impending dread. In the distance, that familiar laughter echoed again, reminding them that time was running out. The next day, the group ventured into the woods armed with flashlights, rifles, and the traps Tom had prepared. As they advanced, they noticed the forest itself seemed to change. The trees loomed taller, the shadows deepened, and the air grew heavier. Suddenly, the group was surrounded by sounds, whispers, laughter, and the cries of children. Mary ran ahead, convinced she heard Sally's voice, but Mike and Jack managed to stop her. Mr. Grayson warned them that these were likely illusions created by Grimm to mislead them. However, one member of the group, Tom, couldn't resist. He followed the sound of a bell, and moments later, his screams shattered the silence. When the others rushed to help, all they found was his cap hanging on a branch and a red balloon tied to a tree. With Tom gone, the group realized just how grave the danger was. They pressed on, following the manuscript's instructions. Deeper in the woods, they discovered the cave's entrance, hidden behind dense foliage. The air near the entrance was icy, and faint echoes of either laughter or crying could be heard from within. Inside, the cave resembled a labyrinth. The walls were adorned with drawings and symbols that looked like children's doodles, but something about them felt unsettling. On one wall, the group saw an image of a clown with outstretched arms surrounded by children. In his hand was a strange amulet, just as Mr. Grayson had described. As Mike led the way, he suddenly heard someone calling his name. The voice belonged to his younger sister, who had vanished years ago. He rushed toward the sound, but Jack held him back, reminding him it could be a trap. Moments later, a figure emerged. It was Grimm. His grotesque grin shone brightly, and his eyes sparkled with malice. Grimm raised his hand, and the cave walls began to close in, as if trying to trap the group. Mary, keeping her wits about her, shone her flashlight directly into the clown's eyes. This gave the group a few seconds to retreat. Mr. Grayson recalled the manuscript mentioning that light could temporarily weaken Grimm's illusions. They decided to split up to find the amulet faster, despite the risk. Mary and Jack went left, while Mike and Mr. Grayson went right. The cave grew darker and colder. Suddenly, Mike felt someone grab his hand. He turned to see his sister. Her face was pale, her eyes hollow. Mr. Grayson shouted for Mike not to fall for it, but it was too late. The girl vanished, dragging Mike deeper into the darkness. Jack and Mary found themselves in a large chamber where a stone pedestal held the amulet. It emitted a faint, sinister glow. Surrounding the pedestal were children, clearly under Grimm's control. Their movements were mechanical, and their eyes were void of emotion. Mary recognized Sally among them. Her heart broke, but Jack stopped her, reminding her they had to destroy the amulet first. He pulled out a small explosive charge Tom had crafted before his disappearance. At that moment, Grimm appeared in the chamber. His laughter echoed through the cave as he stared directly at Mary. "Do you want her back? Take her, if you can," he sneered. The children began moving toward them, their actions becoming increasingly menacing. Jack attempted to set up the charge, but Grimm unleashed a gust of wind, knocking him over. Summoning her courage, Mary rushed to the pedestal. She grabbed the amulet, feeling an icy burn sear her hands. At that moment, the children froze, and Grimm let out an enraged scream. He lunged at Mary, but Jack fired a shot from his rifle loaded with salt, as recommended by the manuscript. The shot stunned Grimm long enough for Mary to smash the amulet against the ground with a rock. The chamber filled with a blinding light. Grimm shrieked as his body dissolved into the air. The children collapsed, unconscious. The cave began to crumble. Jack and Mary managed to carry the children out of the collapsing chamber. Outside, they found Mike and Mr. Grayson, who had also escaped, though Mike was visibly shaken after his encounter with the sister. The children began to wake up. They couldn't remember what had happened, but were grateful to be safe. Mary hugged her daughter tightly, tears of joy streaming down her face. Grimm was gone, and with him, his illusions disappeared. The next day, the residents of Reading learned that the children had returned. The group of heroes became local legends, and the manuscript and cave were kept secret to prevent future tragedies. The circus fund for all never appeared again. But whenever distant laughter was heard in the woods, the townsfolk knew evil could return if forgotten. Thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe to my channel and watch my other videos.